All right. So good morning, everyone. This is Girl Talk with Laura Dawson and myself, Krista Taylor. And we are so happy that you joined us today. If you're watching the recording, please enjoy it, make notes, make comments so we know what you liked, what you didn't like. We want to, ask questions. Definitely ask questions. Laura's just suggesting ask lots of questions because, you know, we were all new once. And still I have questions all the time, and the group of women we have here are so supportive, and have so much knowledge. There's so much knowledge in this group that is available. Yeah. So definitely ask your questions because somebody here will be able to help you with them. And I'm here this morning at Laura Armstrong's house, my good friend that I was fortunate enough to meet through Vox. And she's going to talk to us. Laura is one of these people that came into my life, I think, to help me. I don't think she necessarily knew that at the time. We were introduced by a mutual friend with Vox, and she really, you know, Lori and I talk a lot about how I see people, I see their potential, but, you know, you don't always do that for yourself, right? And I feel like Laura does that for me. She fuels me, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I call you on your shit.
And she does definitely call me on my shit all the time, which I love her for. Yes. Right? Yeah. Yeah. It's a very rewarding relationship for me. And I was thank you. I was so happy to, of course, she's always offering to help, but one of the things I asked her to talk to us about, because I think it would be very beneficial, just with the feedback and the questions that I've heard over the last, especially the last year, Laura really talks a lot about doing what works for you and owning what works for you and not necessarily getting caught up in what others are suggesting is the gospel truth, right? Right? If it works for you, great. But if it doesn't, that doesn't mean that that's the only way. And Terry Randall's been very good at pointing that out in my life as well. I appreciate. Anyway, so I asked Laura to talk to us today about embracing the no, because her and I have had several conversations about this that have been really helpful to people that I have talked to, me sharing her information. So I thought it'd be great to share it in this form. So I'm going to pass it over to you, my dear.
Great, yeah, cool. Good morning, everybody.
Here, I'm gonna just move over here a bit. There you go.
Can everybody see me okay? Okay, yeah, that light's a little better that way. Okay. I was like this shadow mystery talker. So welcome, everybody. So I really think that a lot of our business, in fact, a very large part of our business is self-development, more than people know. Because you're not getting out of the way of the shit that's holding you back. And I do use 4-letter words, so be prepared.
I love that about you.
You know, we can really limit ourselves, right? And so how can we be free of all the things that are limiting ourselves? So today what I might be talking about is might be uncomfortable for a lot of you, and you may not agree with me, and I'm okay. I don't have a point of view about whether people agree or disagree, but I want you to take what works for you and try to apply it. And it's probably going to make you uncomfortable. And so when things make you uncomfortable, that means there's some charge there that if it was working for you, wouldn't your life have changed already? Okay, so be prepared to feel uncomfortable about things because that's the universe cueing you and saying, hey, there's something here, you're not paying attention. All right. I know when I started doing this stuff, I was really uncomfortable. So now when something makes me uncomfortable, I'm like, oh, I should go do that. And I do it with ease. I do it with happiness because I know there's something there that's going to shift me, right? So today I'm going to talk about embracing the no. So there's two sides of that. There's receiving the no and there's giving the no. Okay. And I think as women, the majority of women really lack in both of those departments because we so want to please people. It's just the nature that we're brought up with. It's hereditary, it's generational, it's societal, it's on so many levels. And so for us to break out of all of those things and create a space where you can be the awesomeness that you are, whether people judge you or not, is extremely empowering. And so that's what I want for all of you, the best and the most for all of you. So the first thing I want to kind of talk about before we get into receiving the no is I like questions. So if you have questions, interrupt me because it is a dialogue that you may be bringing up something someone else is thinking but doesn't want to say. or there may be something I missed, or maybe there's something I need to hear. So it's very interactive. So your partner in crime, you can't right there. So I want to talk first about gifting and receiving equally. So how many of us feel that we give as much as we receive? Right. So usually women are very good givers. We give and we give and we give because, we have families, we have kids, we have husbands, we have relatives. But as far as receiving, that's usually the lacking category. And why won't we receive? My mom, for instance, is a horrible receiver because she was taught that receiving means you owe. You owe something, there's a debt there, that kind of thing, right? Like it's just the way we think. Receiving can be empowering. When I married my husband, I was single, like I had a lot of relationships, but I was single for a very long time. I was very dependent on myself. I'm a strong woman, I can do it all. I could not receive because I had to make sure I was okay because there was no one else, right? And my one girlfriend said to me, she's like, when we decided we were going to get together and have a long-term relationship and eventually get married, she's like, this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm good. And she's like, no, this man wants to take care of you and you better be ready for it, right? And I thought, yeah, if he can take care of me, that's no problem. Boy, was she right. So it took me like 1.5 years not to want to kill him to help me cross the street, right? I'm like, can you stop it, right? He's like he would be hurt because, he was just trying to help in his mind. But just to be able to share the money and share space and all the things accommodated with that really taught me to relax and just receive. So now I'm a great receiver. You guys can give me everything you own. If you want, I'll receive it. It's no problem. So, it's something that you're working on, but be willing to acknowledge that you're not the best at it, or maybe you are. Okay. And it's something you're willing to have from people. So the next time someone offers you something, automatic is like, no, I'm good. Maybe you could just say, yes, I'll have that. I'll receive that. And it starts to be like this river, this dam, and you're pulling away at the small stones, and all of a sudden you're starting to notice all these things start to come back into your life. Okay. Once you start receiving, giving's always there. It'll always be there for you. You guys are good at it.
Laura, can I just say too, when I got to the place,
I'm having a hot flush, so I got to put my hair up. Sorry, go ahead.
When I got to the place of understanding that it meant something to the giver for me to receive it, then it put a different perspective on it. And then I worked at being a gracious receiver, an appreciative receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be able to give them that gift,
That's what you're doing.
Give though.
Yeah.
She always has to.
Yeah.
Give.
Well, it's a constant battle, right?
Yeah.
To just be in balance, right?
It is,
that's the story of our lives, is to just figure all our shit out, right? And
so true.
We have, right? Cool. That was great. Yeah.
Point, Laura.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one I'm going to talk about, there's 2 parts, like I said, and I'll keep it kind of quick. So feel free to interrupt me because I know we're all on time limits. Receiving. So why is it so hard for us? And I just kind of talked a little bit about this. So there's a few reasons behind this, and this may twig you and this may not, but if it's not you, it might be someone you know. So just because we're talking to our amazing group of women doesn't mean that what we learn today can't influence other people that you know. Yeah. And you'll actually start to recognize it in others, and that will help heal whatever needs to balance in you as well.
And that's why I don't worry about the numbers of people on the chat.
Oh, yeah.
On the call.
Yeah, it's like ripples in the pond. You guys all know that.
Yeah.
So first of all, we are taught at a very early age that no is a negative word. It's a bad thing. Don't touch this, don't do that. Instead of it being something that contribute to our lives and enhance it in different ways, because that is actually a generational thing that we're taught. It's also an inherently genetic thing sometimes with our parents and their parents and their parents. And now socially, you may have noticed that the word no does not have the connotation that it used to have 50 years ago or 100 years ago, because people are looking at more possibilities of what could be, even if it's a no. It's not like shutting everything down like it used to. So that's one reason that it's so hard for us. The other is that people take it as a personal judgment on you, receiving a no. So you actually think it's about you because that's what you've been taught, right? So it's really not about you. It's about their opinion and their point of view. Does that make sense to people? Like, you're like, oh, she said no. And you just, you shrink inside. You're like, oh, I just died a little bit more, right? It's not about you. It's not all about you, okay? It's their stuff. So when someone says no to you, I'm just like, okay, well, that's cool. But you got to work on getting to that. And then what that feeds into is we take no as a personal judgment against us, right? Like we've done something wrong. Maybe I didn't present my box properly. Maybe they're just not getting the message. What did I do that's wrong? Actually, people can make up their own minds, right? Believe it or not. I can't tell you the number of shows.
Surprise!
I've been to a number of shows, and I'm sure this has all happened to you guys, especially the leaders, where, inevitably, I don't know why, it's always a man. I don't know. And that doesn't mean it can't be a woman. And I start to talk about our technology, how it can help with the balance. And the guy shuts me down. And he's like, and Denise we were at the show together. She didn't hear it happen. He goes, yeah, you're not going to help me. That's a lot of bullshit. You have no right to be here. And I looked at him and I said, well, I want you to have a really good show. And hopefully there's something here that you guys will be able to buy that'll help you out. Have a good day.
Bye. Yeah.
In fact, I dismissed you from my booth. So you can now move on.
I love that.
Okay? You are no longer allowed in my space. You have violated even being the most courteous of people. And it's not because I'm better or worse, but it's just like I recognize that this man has his own stuff and he's just not ready.
Yeah.
Jay's quote, right? He's just not ready. So we're moving on. And the amount of time I have this happen with my team, and they come back to me like, oh, I said this. I'm like, so why does that really bother you? And I actually get them to look at it instead of giving them an answer. Well, because of this. And sure enough, it's one of these three things. They take it personally. It's a judgment on you. You're not doing the right thing. So really kind of these are more of awarenesses and tools that you can use to kind of get past receiving it to the point where you're going to receive the no, believe it or not. Because when I was listening in this group, and I know that Ray Higdon talked a lot about that at the training. People were having a hard time with that word no. I can't take 20 no's a day. I just can't do it. And I get that. So just make it not about you, okay? So that's kind of more why it's so hard for us. So how can we get past it? And I've kind of touched on this. So first of all, we are the best judgers of ourselves, and we are super critical of ourselves. We are so good at it. We could make millions of dollars if that was transferable to money. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So once you start to clear these things about self-judgment, and I just kind of talked about a few things there, you'll notice that, again, it's like the river being opened up from the boulders holding it back. Things start to get clearer for you and things start to get a little easier. At first it's a little painful because you're like, no, it's not really about me too. Later, man, moving on, right? So it's just about practice. So keep practicing saying, receiving the no and just realizing it's not about you. So number 2, is it real? Does the no really have charge for you, or is it just someone else's point of view? And are you making that real? Are you making it about you? Because that's what you've done for your whole life, and that's what you've been taught. So look at that. Maybe it's not about you, right? So, and you see how this all relates to why it's so hard for us. Maybe it's just not about you. So, those are the 2 tools that I would ask myself is is it about me and is it real? Is the no really, about me? Okay. Now the second tool is it's really not about you. So I wrote all these notes this morning. So then when you realize that and you're not sure or you're having problems still, ask if it's yours. So that gets you to dig a little deeper into yourself and say, well, when did this no thing start bothering me? That people started saying no, right? And it could be pre-birth, it could be another life, because I believe in all that woo-woo shit, right? But it could be, when you were 6 years old or you were 2 and the first word you learned was no, don't touch that, right? It could be that. So look back a little bit. When did I first start reacting to things negatively? Because it's been my job to do that so long. That's how I've been taught. I want to be a good daughter. I want to do what my parents say because that's what we're taught to do in society. Well, to be honest, that's a lot of baloney because you've taken on your parents' stuff. That's not really the real infinite being that you are. Okay. So you can give that back or get rid of it because we don't really want to own somebody else's car in our driveway. We want to own our own car. We want the Corvette or the Tesla or whatever it is you love. We don't want the jalopy from next door. That's theirs. So I'm going to keep it in their garage. So you guys get what I'm saying there? So make sure that the stuff you're holding on to isn't yours. Okay. It's 99%, 9% of it isn't, right? Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions at this point?
I don't have a question, but one thing that I feel, and you may not agree with this, I think when we're in those situations doing our business, whether it's on the phone or in person or whatever, when that no comes, it reaffirms our insecurity that we feel like we're selling something. So we have to remove that part of it.
Yes.
Right. And that's actually the number 2 that I just talked about. Yeah. Is it about us? Like, and it doesn't, and when I say about us, Terry, I mean like our business, right? Because we are our business, right? So it's just like, you're right. Like, it's just like when that no comes, I'm like, I can't tell you the number of calls from people on my team are like, I feel like I'm a fraud, right? Like, you know, and so then we have to have this discussion. And I was like, why do you feel like you're a fraud? Well, you know, people are saying this and that. And then again, Terry, it comes back to those people's point of view that I've decided is going to offer me drama and trauma and change the way I think about things and doubt myself. So I just keep, like I said, I just keep giving it back to that person, and I just really don't feed into that. I'm like, well, you're entitled to your opinion. And for me, it was the closest person was my sister, who thought I was, you know, a witch doctor selling socks. Okay. And this woman is in so much pain every day. She's a caterer. She's on her feet 12 hours a day, and she suffers. And, you know, it took my mom, who's the other disbeliever in our family, because it's always usually the closest ones to us.
Yes, it is.
And, you know, my mom was on morphine with sciatic. And, you know, I said, just wear the socks, damn it. You know, was my final statement, right? Because she was on so much drugs. And so then she got better. But it wasn't the socks. It was just because she was going to the osteopath. I'm like, sure, Mom. Okay. So in the summer, when summer came along, she wear her flip-flops, no patch, no socks, no shoes. She was crippled in 3 days. So my mom really just needed to see that kind of pain again to realize that this actually worked. Now she goes out to all her old biddy card games, and she's the biggest box person I've seen in my life, right? So my sister is kind of on the path. So I get what you're saying, right? And so I can't change people's minds. I can only change how they feel about themselves. And if they're not willing to have that, then I'm moving on to the next person, right? And that's what we're all taught as leaders. Just move on. It's okay. You don't have to have guilt about that. Just, they'll be good. So the third thing I want to talk about receiving the no is, will this contribute to me and my business? And am I willing to have more ease with it and let it go? If you guys want me to send you that statement, I can send it to you.
Love. Yes, please.
Yeah, and just say that in your mind. I found once I started saying that, because I was having trouble receiving no at the beginning, and I'm like, yeah, no, this isn't contributing to me. Okay, so you're good. You can move. Like that dude, like he was brutal.
Yeah.
And he was 6'3" and 350 pounds. He was used to intimidating people.
Yes.
Well, I'm the wrong person to try that on. So.
And you know what? It's very freeing when you do dismiss those
He
people.
was shocked.
Yeah.
He was like, what? And his wife was beet red. And basically, you can move on to the next booth. We're good.
Yeah, because you don't.
And you guys can.
Yeah.
Is that the line you used, Laura? You can move on. I love that.
I said, okay, well, you have a good day. I'm sure there's something over there that's going to spark your eye.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You can leave my booth. But no, I wasn't mean or rude, because I'm above that. I'm not above it. I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, you're an asshole. But I can't say that, right? So.
Yeah, and you're not about that anyways. You're about helping people. So who's next?
Yeah, exactly.
And especially when you're in a booth situation, you don't want, like, there could be somebody like the next person coming along could be somebody that you're going to change their life. So you don't want to get stuck with this idiot.
Mm-hmm.
It's your job to convince them that they need to listen to you. Move them out of the space so the right people that need you can get into the space.
Yeah, it's not a pissing match.
Right. But the funny thing was, and you guys will laugh about this, I don't know if you noticed, Denise, because she was with me that day, but the guy walked by our booth 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
Every time he went by, I'm like, hey, you're back.
No, I didn't realize that.
It was so funny. Yeah.
He was testing the waters.
He's testing the waters, yeah. So if any of this resonates with you, say yes to it. Okay, and things will start to shift. If it doesn't, then you should be asking yourself those questions, like why doesn't it? Am I still judging myself? You know, I'm really good at that, so maybe I need to stop doing that. Maybe I could just be the greatness that I am. And what can really help with that is a number 4, and then this is a technique I use. It's called interesting point of view. So really what that statement means is nothing. There's no charge. So if you say to me, Lori, well, I think you're a total bitch, I'm okay with that, right? But let's say that really upsets me, and in my head I'm like, well, that's an interesting point of view. Or I could say it to you and not sound sarcastic. Well, that's an interesting point of view. But what does that mean? Is there any charge there for you when I say that?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing, because I'm not giving you anything. And you'll notice that the drama and the trauma of what is going on about receiving the no starts to dissipate, and then the relationship changes. So this is a very, very good tool, and I use it all the time. Okay,
I know I use this phrase where there in my life as a perspective, where there is no wood, the fire goes out.
Right. That's exactly it. There's just no fuel, right? And so if you don't give fuel to the fire, what happens? Everybody has s'mores. All right. So once you start to see
s'mores.
Once you start to see things from a point of view that things can change with ease without the trauma and drama, you'll be able to receive the no with a lot more ease. Okay. So I'm going to go on giving the no. Did anybody else want to make comments about that? Terry had some good points there. Or
what was your number 3 phrase again? Will this contribute to my business? And what was the second?
Will this contribute to my business? And am I willing to have more ease and let it go? I'll write it in the comments if you guys want. Yeah. And then the other one was the interesting point of view. And these actually shifted big things, not just in my box, but in my life, right? So they shifted me. Because sometimes I really need to work on my allowance of people's
work on your what?
On my allowance.
Oh.
What do you mean by that? Like allowing people to be where they're at?
Allowing people to just be absolutely idiots and being okay with it. Yeah. You know, that makes me nuts, right? So I just need to be in way more allowance of that. And just,
yeah,
that's my work. Yeah.
And really, kind of just, a lot of this even ties back to how strong is your own belief, what we have, what we do, who we serve, who it works for. So when you let somebody who comes up to your booth and has like a little bit of a negative energy about them, or they don't want anything to do with it, they're just upsetting your belief. But if you have that bulletproof vest on, like you say, you just kindly move them aside, piss off, and we don't need you here.
Yeah.
And you can't be shaken. When we know what we have, we've seen it work too many times to let one asshole disrupt that belief.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I was talking to someone the other day about it, and they've been using it for a while, and I was thinking back to the first year, and all of you who were in the first year, well, Laura, some of you guys were like right at the beginning. I only came in like 6 months when it started, but that first year was really hard because nobody had it, and we were trying to make people understand and see it. It was like, it was like beating through a brick wall with like a sponge.
Everybody
right?
was like, no.
But now everything is starting to shift. And so I'm so happy with people coming in now, because all of us have paved the way for the people right after us, and them right after them. And it's a big chain of events. Yeah. Which I think is very cool. And the other thing, I had something on the tip of my tongue there when you were talking, Terry, and now it's gone. But okay, I'll come back to it.
I have to throw one thing out here too, and it's my 3-year-old granddaughter who says, when you get upset, you just take deep breaths and you think of things you love.
Right.
Yes.
Think happy thoughts.
And thoughts, really. Like, how many people have we helped? Because apparently you've got that old thing of being identified with your pain, and you just have to get to the point where you're not willing to have that relationship anymore.
Yeah,
who will you be without your pain? Some people can't
have. I was out on a training on the weekend, and we were kind of, working on our statements and how to say things. And the person who was training me said, I was trying to explain the neurology of it all, and she just was like, no, take that out. Like, don't take the whole convincing part out of there. She said, and I just thought I was explaining, but she says, no, I'm hearing that you're trying to convince. You don't need to convince anybody. She said, you've got a fantastic product here that people, it works. People can take it or they leave it, but you don't need to convince. So
Denise, I like that because it's about paying attention and being in the moment, right? Instead of being robotic with what you throw out there. What's this person want from me right now?
Yeah.
And I have to get better at that.
Me too. I find I just like to talk about it. But, you know, I love how Laura, I watch her a lot because we do shows together, and I love how she tells people about it quickly, tells them what, you know, talks about their pain, and then says, okay, this is what you need. But she doesn't try to do any kind of, you don't try to do any kind of convincing. I never hear that from you.
Yeah, they've got basically 30 seconds to let me know they're interested on some level. 30 seconds to a minute, and that's plenty of time for them to either engage or not. And then I'm like, okay, well, here's my card. If you should check it out more, there's lots of information on my website, and you can always email me if you want additional information. Because I know that I could spend 20 minutes with these people, and I just don't have that. Yeah, I need your energy out of my booth, and I need the next person willing to have it here. And it sounds like I'm, you know, pushing people through like a conga liner. Well, not a conga line, because that's fun.
No,
but,
she is.
yeah, like, you know, an assembly line, right? But really, you know, we want to touch as many people's lives in the shortest amount of time possible. People are not stupid. They will literally lose their attention in 15 seconds. So they know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, and this person was saying it's okay. The right people, the people who need this, will be drawn to you.
That's correct.
So you don't need to be convincing people who are not really needing it or wanting it or ready for it or whatever.
Cool.
I just want to add on that idea. I do, like Laura and I are both saying the same thing. You know, you got to clear the people out to make the space for the people that want to learn and want to. They're ready to learn. They're ready to try. But then once you have those people, I know we have box-like coffee cups. Once you have those people, you have to honor the fact that they are there. So now you stop rushing. You stop rushing and you take your time with them. Right?
Yes.
So they are the person that you were making space for. So now they're here. Now you slow down. Because part of my problem in the beginning was I was trying to get to I want to help you, but also I want to help that guy and that guy and that guy. No, once you've got the person that's like, yeah, okay, yes.
If you have a lineup, people will wait.
They'll wait.
They'll wait.
Definitely.
And they can listen to you explain to the person too. So that's the other thing.
Yes.
It's about the relationship, and you don't have to build Rome in a day, but you have to put the plug in the wall, you know, make the connection.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to just turn it. Okay, cool. So I'm going to move on to giving the no. Okay, so why can't we say no to people? So there are usually three main reasons, and if there are other ones, let me know. So the first is that we are taught that it's rude to say no, and that it's, you know, that's not, you're not being the good girl or the person that, you know, we just don't do that. We should give everybody their time to listen, and, you know, all the rest of that. The second is, if we give the no, it will diminish us because we're not agreeing to what's going on, or even if it doesn't fit in with us. So it makes us a smaller person if we don't give the no and just we acquiesce, acquiesce. I think it's the word. I love that word. Right? It's so foreign. So, you know, so like we'll be diminished if we give the no. Like that's a bad thing. You know, people are going to look down on you if you do that. And then the third one, which I love the most, is because we can't say no to people because we're not compliant and we're being a bitch, so to speak, or we're being like a bad person, or, you know, well, you're just not listening to my point of view. So, you know, yeah, you're just a troublemaker. I shouldn't say bitch. I should say troublemaker, or, you know, you're not agreeing with me. And we always like want to be making sure everybody's happy-go-lucky and fun. No, it's okay not to be like that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what's really happening here is when you give the no, you're being respected for who you are. So be real, live your best every day, no matter what others think. Look at that judgment that we talked about before. And so are you worried about the judgment you're going to get if you say no? Because I think a lot of that is what comes back to that. And we already have tools about that we just talked about. So any comments on that? So like you're being respected for who you are, okay, saying no. Okay, you're creating space for that. The second one is people aren't comfortable with you setting new boundaries, especially if you've known them a long time and all of a sudden you're this person saying, no, actually, I'm not doing that. That's not helping me. So setting that boundary about having the no is uncomfortable, not just for you sometimes. You'll get more comfortable, but it's really uncomfortable for people around you who have known you for a while and known you as the yes person, or yeah, I can help with that. When really what it's doing is taking away from your self-care and the way you actually really feel and believe about that. So tools for this.
At that point too, Laura, you have to allow people their time and the process to get to get familiar with the new you, because I've experienced it in my own family. Mom's really changed. No, Mom has stopped bending over backwards. It's time for me to straighten up.
Cool. Yeah, I was just going to talk about that. That's really good. Yeah. So again, sticking to your guns and listening to your inner voice. Like, we all have that intuition or that inner voice that comes in first, which we promptly ignore and go do what we think in our brain should be the right thing. That voice will never lead you wrong. So I encourage you, and it's uncomfortable at first to kind of get used to listening to that, even if what the voice is saying or the intuition is saying is something crazy, I still go do it. And it always ends up being something marvelous. Okay. So
give an example, Laura.
Sure.
I have an example.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't you say one?
So yesterday, in my mind, sometimes I get to this, like, I have to do this much work in a day. Right. But I'm like not doing that anymore because now I'm getting better at listening to my intuition. So yesterday, my kids needed the morning. They're like adjusting to back to school and they needed some mental health time. So we had a sleep in morning. And then I woke up and I was like, okay, and my intuition was saying, slow down, you need to slow down. You need to slow down so that they can slow down. So I was like, okay, all right. I'm just going to get my coffee. I took them to Starbucks and then I took them to school. And our smoke detector went wonky this week. So I was like, I'm going to go to Home Depot. And by the time I'm done all this, it's basically going to be time to get them from school. But, oh well. So I go along, do my thing at Home Depot, get that worked out. I come back, I get in the elevator in the parking garage, and the person in the elevator is walking with quite a challenge. And I kind of like smile, go, huh, interesting. And before I can say anything, that person turns to me and smiles and says, hey, how's your day going? And I was like, my day's going very well. How's your day going? Great. We had to start this nice dialogue. And then I said, I want to give you a gift if you'll let me. I found this technology a few years ago and, it really helped me. And he was like, oh. He said, it really helps people with their balance and stability. And he said, that could really be something for me because I have multiple sclerosis.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. I've got the tingles. I
put a patch on him and he's, I didn't like test his balance or anything because we're like in the parking lot. Anyway, so I'm like, I can't, but I said, you'll notice, just wear it, take my card, let me know if you want to, no pressure, whatever. And then he smiles and he's like, I really appreciate you doing this for me. He goes, do you know what's interesting? It's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
And I said, well, if it's your birthday, then here's 2 more patches. Take put that one on, and then you'll have some time in homeostasis, and I hope you feel great.
That is phenomenal.
And
that's the seed planting.
Me to do this thing that was right off the scale of what I had planned for the day, and it turned out to be hopefully life-changing for him.
Very cool. This is my everyday life. So I'm just willing to have all of this however it shows up for me. Mm-hmm. So for one instance, it was last week. Excuse me.
Oh, those are your dogs.
One toy in the house that has a squeaker left in it, and he's got it. So what happened to me is I had a referral from one of my girls, and she said, look, I think it was Rebecca. Most of you know Rebecca. She's in London. She goes, I've been talking to this lady in Toronto on Facebook. Can she come to your house, and can you balance test her? She has MS, and she's in severe pain. I'm like, I had a hell of a day. I was like, I had appointments. I'm like, okay, can she come at 6? Because I've got an appointment at 6:30, and then I've got one at 7. So she gave me the girl's info, and we connected. So she was coming at 6 o'clock. 5 to 6, my 6:30 cancels. And then, so she shows up and we're talking, and this woman is trying not to cry as we're talking because she's in so much pain. I haven't even done anything to her yet, but I can just see her holding the pain, right? And so we're talking, 10 minutes goes by, and I'm looking at my watch, and I'm like, okay, I can do this in 50 minutes. And then we sit down, and a half hour goes by talking. Like, she needed to unload. She couldn't do it on her husband because she felt she was burdening him. I get a phone call, my 7 o'clock cancels.
Wow.
So then I take her down in my basement, which is my box store at home, and then I balance test her. She was so fragile, right? And she kept talking to me, standing on the insoles. And she's looking at me, and she's like, well, I'm still feeling pain. I'm like, well, some people don't have pain relief, right? You know the deal, right? And then I said, but if you pick up your left foot, you could balance it on your right. And she's like, what? She goes, I can't balance on my right. I can barely walk on my right. I said, well, I'll be here to catch you. I said, why don't you try it? So, and now the tears, without even doing anything, are running down this woman's face, right? And she picks up her left foot, and she stood there. And she's like, oh my God. She goes, I haven't been able to do this for 12 years, right? Yeah, seriously, right? And so now tears are running down both our face, right? So, and you guys have all had these moments, right? And so now it's like 7 o'clock, right? And she will not step off the insoles. I'm like, well, you can buy some, right? And just, I want to buy everything I need. What do you think I need? So I did the standard insoles and 3 pairs of socks that'll get her through the week, and then she can, the deal, right? And she goes, are you sure I shouldn't buy more? I'm like, well, why don't you just try this for like a few weeks and see how it helps you? And if you want more, you know where I am, or you can buy online and I'll help you. She goes, well, I want to tell people about this. But I said, well, why don't you wait and see till if it works with your pain a little bit, right? So I have to get in touch with her to come to next week's event, which I'm going to talk about at the end. But like that kind of stuff, and not just in Vox, in my life, happens to me all the time. So I'm willing to have cancellations and stuff show up however they show up and be okay with it. But boy, I really had to work with it because I had serious control issues before this. So yeah. Does that kind of explain everything a little bit?
I'm living with a husband with ADHD.
Oh God, yeah.
Challenging, but you know what? There's a guy that ultimately I hope will speak at an event that we're planning down the road. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
You play the hand you're dealt, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Sorry. I have a call coming up with a gentleman who writes about this thing. He's speaking in Ancaster this week. So we've set up a call for Tuesday.
Okay.
So he's lived the life with the ADHD and now has all the tools and.
Oh,
this is getting good, Terry.
I know.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to finish up, you guys, and then we can chat more.
Okay.
So are all these tips kind of helping you guys? Maybe just making you look at maybe why you can't receive the no, or why you can receive the no and give the no and all that? I really just want you to brace all of it and see what happens. So back to like having you using your voice more and being able to give the no and making other people maybe uncomfortable about it, or you're different than they had perceived you. How do I integrate that into my life now, this new person, right? But in the end, what you need to ask is, does it feel right for me? You know your truth, and so that's what you need to focus on. So you're only accountable to you. You're not accountable to anybody else as a human being who's living your truth, okay? And I'm not talking about things like I'm accountable because I'm a mom and I got to make dinner. I'm talking about the inner you that is trying to be the best and happiest you that you can be, right?
I like that. I like that qualifier. It's huge.
Yeah, right. And, we don't spend enough time on that reflection because there's so many distractions on the outside of us that sometimes we forget to look in there, right? So it's really important. And we don't talk about it because it's kind of woo-woo and, it's my emotions. But women are way more in tune than I find than most people are. Okay? So eventually it becomes all an interesting point of view. And I talked about this tool when you were receiving the no. So apply that here as well. So where people's reactions won't be, what you think they are, and they're going to be charged up because now you're a little bit different because you're owning who you are. Excuse me. Just interesting point of view it in your head, and you'll find that the charge dissipates and that these people will embrace the new you, okay, or the new awesomeness that you're choosing to be. So in closing, I just want to say it all comes down to you being the amazing women that you are and creating the change you need to get there. And the last thing I want to say is I want to talk 1 minute about change. So we are taught that change is a bad thing. We have from a very young age if you lose your job, that's a bad thing. Or, if someone dies, it's bad. Like, it's all bad, right? Change. Most people see it that way. Actually, change is the universal thing that will create more in your life, more than anything else. So I'm willing to have change in my life, however it shows up, but boy, it took me a while to get there. So when has something ever super bad happened that something more amazing came out of it? For instance, someone dying that you love very much, but then maybe it was a connection with an old person you didn't know that you met. Maybe a lot of money came from that to help you help other people, right? So I would ask you to embrace more change in your life, because sometimes it's the amazing things that lock us in place because we think it's as amazing as it can get when actually you're just at the tip of the iceberg. So I want more change. When it's bad, we always want change because we want to be out of bad, but sometimes we lock ourselves in with the good as well. Not that you don't want to enjoy that, but be willing to have change and
There's more.
There's
Right?
more. There's always more. There's never enough for me. I think I'm crazy sometimes because I want everything all the time, right? I want it bigger and better, right? I just don't want my body to match that. So, so that's all I really had to say. Unless you guys have any questions, I hope it helped. And I just love being with you guys.
Oh,
and if I offended anyone, I'm sorry. That wasn't my intention. So I just want you guys to push yourself a little bit and be more amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thanks. Yeah.
As
so, Laura, thanks for being such a good upline for me and really giving me the confidence and the push and calling me on my shit.
Yeah. And one of the things I admire most about Laura is that she doesn't, she's not lecturing. This is how she truthfully
This is how she rolls. This is how she rolls.
This is how she rolls. And she just helps people to get it.
Is it Carol Weaver who is on this call? Who's the Carol we have up there?
I don't know. She's on mute. Yeah. Oh, Carol.
Hi, Carol. That's me.
Carol Weaver. Can you just quickly tell the hug story that we had shared with us by Linda Costa yesterday? Because that was moving.
Oh, that was her sister in Brussels.
Okay.
Yes.
And the story was?
Well, she sent a package of socks to her sisters in Brussels and Portugal because she had someone here from the country that was going back, and I ran her socks and she got them to him to take back. And her sister had, I don't know, was she audio or was she sent her a message? I don't know.
It was an audio message and it was in Portuguese or something. Yeah,
but anyhow, she said that she was so happy. She had made her so happy. She had helped her so much because she has arthritis really bad and hard moving and that. And she said, now I can open my arms and hug my family. So
is that not a choker? Oh my goodness. I thought that's a Testimonial Tuesday thing.
Yeah.
She couldn't open her arms wide enough to hug, and since she's gotten the socks, she can open her arms wide enough to hug her family.
Oh,
that's amazing.
It's amazing.
Quality of life.
That's it.
Guys, I just wanted to remind those of us who know and let those of us who don't know that, when we talk about the no and not taking it personally, Dr. Mark DeBrinket told the person that brought Vox to him, no, not a thing, not possible, right? Dr. Mark DeBrinket, head of clinical strategies at Vox Life, the person who started brain mapping, Vox Life HPT, said no. It's not.
Why? Because he treats the brain injured and had his own suspicions.
That's his whole career, right? Yeah. But he didn't know what he didn't know. So don't take it personally. They don't know. Mm-hmm. And that, if people are being rude to you, nobody has the right to be rude to you. Excuse me.
Right.
Excuse me. Move aside. Out of my space.
Yeah.
And don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And whatever you do, don't respond in kind. That just justifies them.
It's just an interesting point of view.
It's really, that interesting point of view thing. So, a lot of these things apply to my life outside of
mom. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So, Laura, I don't know. It's been over a year since we had a conversation about that, probably. But anyways, that's an interesting point of view phrase. Use that voice to say that. It'll change your life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about your Vox Life, well, maybe for you it is your Vox Life customers, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people in my world that were interfering with my rhythm. Get that.
Mm-hmm.
Very helpful.
They will just.
I see Holland Meyer is on the line. If she's still there. Now, she's a practitioner in Texas, so we should ask her how many no's, or how does she deal with the no, or what was her first exposure to Vox? Well,
For sure.
Holland, are you there?
Available to unmute. Some people drive and listen to this, so she may be not able to unmute. But Holland, if you are, we'd love to hear from you. She may be driving though.
Maybe.
So while we have a break, I just wanted to mention one thing, you guys. Most of you guys know about the event we're having next week on Thursday in Scarborough. So if we have 12 tickets left, we're maxing it out at 150 people.
Good job. Good job.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And if you can't make it, please cancel your ticket so someone else can get it. Because I know those last 12 tickets are going to go really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope you can make it. It's in Scarborough at Netwin. And I talked to Kevin Duguay yesterday, and we're going to do another big one in March in the west end of Toronto. So we're going to switch back east and west.
Yeah.
Is our
Good
plan.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jay's coming.
Yeah, Jay's coming. He's like, can I come? I'm like, what? I'm like, yes.
And important to know, Laura gave Jay some talking points. So he's coming to share information.
Hopefully.
Oh, good.
That's the plan, that he's coming to talk a bit more about the science and that kind of.
Yeah, so I asked him if he could talk about his story, if he could talk about the ABCs of the science of our product, and why Vox Life, why people should wear it, and why you should become a part of our company. Just keep that like very simple. So hopefully he's okay with that. And yeah. So.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Okay, I just have to tell you what Holland Meyer just texted me. Sorry, I'm listening while I'm physically at another meeting.
That's
We
awesome.
love you. That's awesome. I
She's
took a
adorable.
screenshot earlier because I saw I think it was Ellen that was moving. She was outside, and I'm like, I love this. I love that people are listening and like, you know,
Get that
like,
workout in,
stuff
girl.
you gotta do, but you're still on here. It's so
Yeah.
great, so great. And I know lots of people watch the recording of this, so I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I actually feel bad because I can't be on all the time when we have it because I'm traveling so much.
Yeah, right.
But I always listen to the replay. So you should know my energy is always there with you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
We feel you. We feel you.
Can I just do a plug for our picnic?
Yes.
And Team Fun Sit we're hosting a picnic. We've just arranged for a place at the Earl Bales Park on Sunday at 2 o'clock, and 2 o'clock on, or even earlier. It's whatever we make it. So whoever comes, come with an activity you want to do. Come with food. And it's just to relax, meet each other. We wanted to have it in the summertime, but there was a lot of us that were just really busy and couldn't do that. And, and some people didn't make it out to cottages and all that other stuff. So a get-together picnic is just a nice way of extending our summer. So if anyone
Sounds really fun, and I highly recommend bocce ball.
Yes.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I have one more thing to say. Are you good?
Dodge balls then, because I don't have any.
So at the event, when I was talking to Kevin, he's like, we're going to have a mass boxing session. I'm like, what does that mean? So people who bring their guests, I want you all to bring some patches with you for your guests. He's going to balance test someone who hasn't been tested. And then everybody who's brought guests is going to give their guests patches, and they're going to box them right there. We have 20 minutes to do that. So there'll be like...
Yeah, we've done that in Toronto before. It works out really well.
Yeah, it does work really, really well.
It creates good energy in the room, and then it's going to shift from there. So it'll be Kevin Duguay, Rebecca Naylor, and then Jay speaking, and then I'll just do the finish.
And then it's nice because you
sometimes to network as well. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry,
There's
then you
hoping
get
that there are patches in stock, because everybody's probably running low.
I'm low. I don't have any.
I got patches. No, actually, I think, because 2 people actually came and got patches from me yesterday because they're out and they had events.
Cool.
Oh, really? Oh, because they couldn't send me my patches with my order because they were out, and then I got some sent in the mail.
Wow,
Yeah.
good.
I don't know, just last night, 2 people reached out asking if I had spare patches because they had events, so.
Terry Randall, are you able to go to that event next Thursday? Do you want to ride?
Diane Kitching and I are coming, so do you want her to pick you up and we all go together? Or?
Ooh, that sounds
We
really
haven't
good.
had a girly time. I'm feeling I'm lacking the love from you lately, Lauren.
I know.
Did
I
we
know.
break
And
up and I didn't get the memo?
I haven't had a decent meal since we were together last.
Terry Randall is the hostess extraordinaire. You ever get invited to her house? Go.
Drop everything.
Everything and go.
Yes, and speaking of that, so I do like a Christmas party for the team, but I'm thinking I'm just gonna have a Christmas party for Vox, and whoever comes.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Oh, I'm coming.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Oh, heck yeah.
Are we gonna plan a Women of Vox Life retreat
Yeah.
in February?
Oh, I like that.
No?
We have it booked again for at least the place we used last year for the first week in May.
Oh, May. Okay.
We were going to do another one just November 1st weekend. And then people started getting on board with Ray Higdon's rank makers, and there's only so much money to go around. We don't want to take away from a person enjoying one event over another. So it will be the first week in May again.
Okay.
What do you think about lunch?
Oh, good idea. In February, when the weather's kind of crappy and stuff?
That's what I was kind of thinking about the retreat. Like, I know you have your dates, but I find people in the winter are more available because the weather starts to get nicer. But I know, Terry, like you guys had it last year, but I found when I did retreats in February, I got really good attendance because people wanted to come together with other people. Yeah, they're hibernating, right? Yes. So anyways, but I think the lunch is a great idea. Okay.
Yeah, let's look to the lunch and maybe a neutral place. Like, I don't know, what do you think, ladies? Burlington, Midway, or
something? What neutral would be, but I don't know. Burlington is kind of far west for some people.
Maybe like Richmond Hill or
okay.
Yeah, that would be more.
Wherever the GO trains go to.
Pardon?
Well, we'll always arrange.
Wherever the GO trains go to.
Don't worry about that.
No.
We'll figure it out.
There's enough of us.
Carpool. But let's find a location. We'll put Terry Randall on that. She'll sniff it
out.
out.
What am I doing? Somebody was just SOSing me.
We want to have a ladies' luncheon in February for those who can physically make it. So we've got to pick a venue, and it's got to be sort of Richmond Hilly area. So it's
Hill Vaughan area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's yeah. And you know what, girls? If we can't expect Terry to know every place everywhere, so for those of you who have a spot in mind, or maybe we just rent a room and we order in, and like we're having a meeting this upcoming week, Diane, myself, Terry, Lynn Parker, and Sil, and we're just bringing take-in into her clinic because it's a business meeting. But so if we got a venue that was reasonably cheap and we
the only thing with that, the weather can be so dicey if we're committed to paying a room fee.
I would say more of a restaurant. Also, I like the idea of supporting restaurateurs.
Yeah, I like it. Sure. Let's just be thinking about it, okay?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not asking people to decide. I just wanted to see if clearly there's some interest. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, can we pick a space like maybe in Boca Raton or someplace? It's only 2 hours to fly to Florida.
People are listening to are going to be listening to the re-recording, and I don't think it's really fair that we spend all this time doing our own organizing for our own area when this is much wider, and so they just kind of want to get to with your own. You have to be like, just be a leader in your area.
Denise, say some of that again, because I paused the recording based on your first comment, but I like what you just said there. So just say that again about what you said. In your own area.
What I said about
people, the message you got where someone said.
Yeah, so someone was saying that this is happening. They wish they lived closer so they can join us, and that's really, that's great. But on the other hand, we're just coming up with these ideas. We're just saying, hey, let's put
Brainstorming.
this into action to create this community. So what I'm saying is I'm encouraging people who live wherever they live, start to create that community in your own area, become leaders of the social events, even in your own area. And
start small. Start with meeting for coffee. These are what these meetup groups are all about, you know. They just form a little small group, and once a month they meet up, and it grows from there.
That's right.
Perspective-wise, for people that are watching this, perspective-wise, Laura and I have known each other for about 2 years, but Lori and Terry and Denise and I have only known each other for like, I don't know, 9 months. And we met at an organized event that Lori and Terry put together on their own initiative. So just to echo what Denise is saying, like, you can build it too. You can build it too.
That's we're
It
getting.
only takes one person, and you just put it out there, and somebody will respond. And then the next time it's 2 people, those 2 people put it out there, and 2 more people respond.
It's super fun, by the way, too. It's really a bonding experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you bring those ideas here, and you let other people copy them, because, you know, that's duplication, right?
Yes.
Share what you've done that worked, and give the information to other people so they can try too.
And we want to hear from you guys. Like, what can you guys offer the group? Like, we'd love to hear, you know, like Terry and I and everyone else who's spoken, like, we have lots to offer, but so do you. Like, so what is special about you that you can contribute? Because there is that, and don't forget it. So we want to hear from you about that.
Yes, everybody has something.
Mm-hmm. And I think
everybody has something.
Everybody's an expert at something for sure. And just because, like, you may have been with Vox for 3 weeks, but we understand that you have a lot of skills that you came to the table with. So, you know, you don't have to wait for X amount of time or X rank to be a presenter on here. You know, contact Laura or myself, the leaders that you know, and like, come on, share with us. We want to hear from you.
I think Sierra Grana is going to be our next presenter. I think I will have to confirm that. And Sierra is in the States, connected to, I think, she's in New Hampshire. So there's been a little shift there. So anyway, she's the one with the kiddo who, was benefited from the socks because of his anxiety and all his stuff. And
so cute. When she posts pictures of those kids, they are just so adorable.
Yeah, so she's going to talk to us something to do with social media. Anyway, I'll firm it up, and it's 2 weeks off anyway, so that's who we've got lined up next. Diane Dinkmeyer's in the mix somewhere, but we've got to fill that other spot in October. So
Can I suggest something? I think it would be really great to hear from some of the women in this group about reinvention.
Yeah.
And how they reinvented themselves.
I love it.
Because we talked about this, Denise, this week, and I thought those stories were really good. So maybe
Diane Kitching.
Yeah, pick 3 women and then have them do like a 5-minute talk or 10-minute talk or whatever.
Diane's away, but yeah, I think she'd be phenomenal at that theme for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, she's done a major transformation.
Denise, what were you going to say?
Oh, what I was going to say about linking on to what Laura was saying is that also when you do organize these smaller things, and the more you're involved with Vox and you're organizing these, you know, these coffees or these whatever kind of events are coming up with, I think your leadership or your gifts start to emerge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like when I did I just thought, okay, this is something I can do. I can organize an event, but I can't get up in front of people and speak. I can't do that part.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so I you know, really made sure I had different people to get do the speaking. And then like Laura, for instance, and Krista. And so anyhow, but what happened was then my sister tricked me into it. And she said, because I had her as MC, and she sort of tricked me into it. She said, well, you go and introduce the first person anyway. And then that kind of...
And then you were talking awesome in front of people.
Remember, you were awesome? Do you remember how awesome you were? Yeah, you were awesome. Yeah, that happened. Yeah.
So I had to, I was sort of...
We saw it. We know. You can't go back now. Now we know how good you are.
You don't know that until you do it, you know?
Right? And that's a good message too. People that we've got 3 seconds left on this, but anyways, but people that want to come on, but they don't want to talk for 20 minutes or half an hour, no problem. Talk to me about how long you want to talk, and we'll fill the rest of the time with other things. But just try it. You want to talk for 2 minutes? Perfect. If you've never done it before, come on. And if you've done it before and you didn't feel comfortable and you want to try it again, come on. It's us.
Remember, you're not presenting on here. We're having a conversation.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You're just having a conversation.
All here to back you up. Like, we got you. We got you. We're going to lift you up. We're going to back you up, whatever you need. That's good. It's a good group, and we want
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much.
Welcome,
Thank
guys.
you.
I love all of you. I can't wait to see you all in person.
Yeah.
Hey, Laura, you're doing something right when somebody says, this was life-changing for me today.
Great.
Oh.
I know, right? I want the best and the most for everybody. Even if they don't want it, I want it for you.
Yeah.
They don't know they don't want it yet.
Right? They don't know what they don't know.
We're going to move them
Right.
into it. We're going to help move them into it.
Thank you.
Lauren D, you should call me this week. Lauren
was
D,
that?
I said you should call me this week before Thursday.
You talking to me? You talking
I'm
to me?
talking to you.
I'll call you. Yep.
Yeah.
Will
All
do.
right.
Okay.
Great seeing you, lady.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Guys.